What's up, BitConnect?
BitConnect. Exciting stuff in cryptocurrency for those that follow it every day. BitCoin went up to an all-time high between 18,000 and 20,000 on some markets. It is coming down. Actually, as of today, we are at Sunday, December 10th. It went back down to 13,000 this morning, and now back up to 15,600. So some healthy consolidation, but a lot of stuff's going on. For those that haven't seen or heard, the Chicago Board of Exchange, Cboe, and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange are both going to be selling futures in Bitcoin. And over the long term, this will stabilize the price. There will be less volatility and more people would put money into Bitcoin. So for those of us who are long Bitcoin, this is a good thing. Somebody asked me what's the difference between the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and the Cboe, the Chicago Board of Trade. They used to be very different. A lot of people don't know this, but they have merged. They are now owned by the same company. They merged in 2006. So they used to do different facets, and you can read this article or several articles. This one's on Investopedia, but it really is futures. And they started with pork belly, selling the future of a pork belly. And if you bought it and you held it and you were in the money, just like on a normal option, you would actually own the pig. That's not going to happen with Bitcoin. It's going to be settled in cash, which means you buy your futures options with US dollars. If it goes up and you get executed, you get more US dollars. The interesting part is obviously you can bet against it to go down. So yeah, these started in 1980, 1889, 89, and 1859, I think. Yeah, 1859 was when the Chicago Board of Trade operated its futures. Again, just know long term, this is going to be a good thing for Bitcoin. It may be very disruptive short term. And if you're like me, you need to be buying if it's disruptive. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video that actually talks about the upcoming futures on December 20th or 18th. But it's going to be the same for the one that starts on December 10th. So this starts now. So watch it on Monday. It could be very disruptive for Bitcoin. Set yourself up, be in a position to buy if the prices get pressured. And again, right now it's at 15.6. Let's refresh this. It actually should be under 15 yet. It's at 14.98. You can look at a one-day chart, see where this is. It's been bouncing around between 15, 13. Look at a 7-day. But you can see we ran up really, really fast from 11,000 to 18,000, back down to 13 something, and now up. So this is a very healthy consolidation ahead of these futures. So watch this following video that was done by CNBC. It will actually help you explain better than I could what these futures options and contracts are going to do that are healthy for this market. And let's make lots of money.
The Chicago Mercantile Exchange is launching Bitcoin futures. Here's what that means. As long as regulators give it the go-ahead, Bitcoin will soon have an official futures contract, and it will live on the largest futures exchange in the world. That means investors will be able to lock in a price for Bitcoin as long as they agree to buy or sell it at that same price on a certain day in the future. For the average investor, that means less price volatility, something Bitcoin has become notorious for. But it may be an even bigger deal for institutional investors. As of now, they're not able to directly invest in cryptocurrencies. But these new derivatives could change all of that. Here's how it would work. Bitcoin's future price is determined every day at around 4 p.m. London time. CME currently uses its CF Bitcoin reference rate, or the BRR, to do so. The BRR is a weighted index of prices from 4 cryptocurrency exchanges: Bitstamp, GDAX, Itbit, and Kraken. The contracts will be cash settled. That means investors will be able to exchange the contracts for cash. That's opposed to a physically settled futures contract, which are used in the actual delivery of commodities like corn. It's important to note that this is all pending regulatory approval, but people are already getting concerned. Take Joe Saluzzi, a principal at Themis Trading. He told CNBC Bitcoin futures remind him of the financial crisis all over again. Remember the CDO wrapper around all those crappy mortgages during the financial crisis? Placing a wrapper doesn't make it safe. Saluzzi said he worries the CME's approval could legitimize Bitcoin, and it could go mainstream before investors really understand what they're getting into. Here's what CME's chairman-in-chief had to say.
People are looking for more efficient ways to do commerce, and whether this is the right way or not, I'm not quite sure, but I do know one thing for sure is we are going to list the product under our rules, and if it doesn't work, we have the ability to eliminate it.
Despite the backlash from some on Wall Street, Bitcoin's price surged to a new record high following the news.
Soaring today as federal regulators approved the launch of Bitcoin futures on the Cboe and the CME. The CME following up by announcing that its Bitcoin futures contracts will be available on December 18th. BK, what do you make of the impending launch?
Well, it's a watershed event, in my view. Now, I'm certainly bullish on Bitcoin, somewhat biased, but here's the thing. One of the biggest things investors ask me is, what could go wrong? What keeps you up at night? You know what used to keep me up at night? That I'd wake up in the morning and the U.S. would ban Bitcoin for some reason. With CME futures, Cboe futures, and the NASDAQ getting in the game, that takes that concern off the table. You're now going to see an awful lot of institutional money flowing into this sector. It's a watershed event for Bitcoin.
Interesting. What keeps me up at night is insomnia. Anybody else have a view on Bitcoin? Bitcoin futures, because now you can short them, baby. It's not just a one-way street, guy.
Please.
It's not just a one-way street like the Chinese stock market.
No, it's not a one-way street. But Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which made an all-time high today, despite this huge sell-off in the market, is extraordinarily interesting. Valuation is stretched, but they have more things to trading, and their numbers are going higher. Volumes are increasing. Increased volatility is good for these